Good morning. This is Dr. David A. Padgett. This is Weather and Climate, Geography 3500. And today is March 23rd. Today, I'm just going to start off with the usual housekeeping activities, and then I will move and look at the assignment that's due this week. Also, I'll take a look at a couple of article reviews, perhaps. And then we will move into the assignment for this week. So without any further delay, I'm going to share my screen and get right into the today's festivities. Okay, so first, just a couple of housekeeping notes. I completed the midterm exam grades for last week. That's the midterm grade for the entire class. And so I'm going to go to student view just to show you exactly where you should look for your assignment grades. So you go here to where it says grades. Now, I'm not going to have any grades. I believe I've graded all of the assignments. And so just a minute, I'm going to pause the recording just for a moment. Back to screen share. Okay, so again, to check for your graded assignments, go to assessment and then grades. I'm in student view. Up to this point, I have graded 7 assignments, and I will be grading your article review. Well, your 6 assignments. I've graded 6 assignments. So the assignment that's due this week is obviously not being graded. And I will make comments on the article reviews. Hopefully, you will start doing those in earnest. So I am going to go back into developer mode so that I can give you some form of assessment again of the article reviews. So again, you should be able to see your course grades, your assignment grades through eLearn. For my TSU, or you'll have to refer to my TSU for your letter grade as your midterm. I don't have the option of switching to student view there, so you'll have to do that on your own. If you can't find it, I know that the student my TSU portal is not the easiest thing to navigate. Just email me, ask me, and I'll tell you what your midterm grade is at this point. Of course, most of you all are doing okay. There is always room for improvement, however. So I've discussed these article reviews. I noticed that we still have, they're trickling in. And so let's take a look at the article reviews, or some of them that have been turned in thus far. So here is Marshall. Let's take a look at hers. I expect for these to get better as we go on. And so here she has her side. Article number, name, date, major, citation, ice covers Sahara Desert for just the 4th time in 50 years. Very interesting. And she okay. Interesting approach here in terms of content. I'm going to consult the syllabus at this point. And just as a reference for the article review. So remember, the article review instructions are in the syllabus. And so let's see. Okay, so in terms of this particular article review, just a couple of points of information. If you look at the instructions require for you to write this article review in the first person tense. And that is because I want you to really speak in your own words or use your own vocabulary. I don't write this essay as if you're writing it to me. Write it as if you're trying to explain the contents of the article to a layperson, someone who has no formal experience in this topic area. I'm not going to be impressed. As a matter of fact, if your vocabulary seems to be a little bit too advanced, I'm really going to suspect that you copied and pasted, or maybe you just rotely repeated what was in the article without really understanding what you were writing. So, in order for me to really be convinced that you understood the content of this article, I want you to write it in first person. Also, notice what's missing here. Um, what's also missing here is, of course, three specific things that you learned while reading the article, and you should be really deliberate about that. So let's look at another article review, perhaps, um, that might be more in line with what is expected. Um, let's see. Well, Ross is here. Let's see. Ross is actually here today. So let's take a look at what he submitted here. Okay, so far this appears to be what is expected. So he has his article number, date, name, major, and he gets into the topic of climate change. And so, like I said, the vocabulary is very simple for the most part. He says here the first thing, learn whether the CO2 levels are highest that they've ever been. Good. He's got the data there, 417 parts per million. Mentioned that the second thing he learned was the record heat. And then the third thing he learned from the article was about Arctic ice. Very well done. More discussion, plain language, good keywords, and a reference source. So this article review by Ross is basically what I would expect. I can tell that, if you write in first person, you have to show that you actually read the article and thought about it. Um, Very easy to write in a different tense and just, like I said, just repeat back what you read without understanding it at all. So again, I'm not going to be impressed by a lot of big vocabulary words. In fact, I'm probably going to be more suspicious as to whether you really know what those words mean at this point in the course. But this is good. This is good. So if you're watching this recording and you notice what Ross has done here, this is pretty much exactly what I would expect for you to do. These article reviews. That being said, I would like to see more article reviews submitted. I think we only have 3 here. Now, note that the article review for this week is not due until 11:30 p.m. tonight, and then you have a grace period beyond that. And of course, article review 6 is due next week. So these article reviews are not difficult to do. Um, and so that is an opportunity for you to add points to your total if you want to improve upon the midterm grade that you got. Okay, so next I want to look at the draft um, um, term papers that have been turned in thus far. So we've got Ross here. Let's look at his. So the instructions were for you to complete sections 2 and 3 of the hometown term paper. So let's take a look at what Ross has submitted since he's here today. Let's see. Okay, I understand this is a very, 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 very rough draft. That's understood. Okay, so I know this is a very rough draft. Each of these, what the heck is going on here? Okay, here we go. Okay, so let's see. In terms of content is good. It's okay. Each one of your images must have a figure numbers. So, for example, figure number in a caption. So, what I would rather see is instead of okay. I'd rather see all right. I would rather not have the text wrapped like this. It's, as you can see, it's kind of difficult to deal with. Um, and for the each image should have a figure number. So this should be, say, figure 1. Memphis skyline at night. And then this next one, anyway, each don't format it like this. Just have it simple. this is just more artsy, and that's fine. But I would rather just have you expand and make the figures larger. We don't have to worry about saving space. We're not printing these out ever, I don't think. These are be saved in electronic format. You don't have to worry about saving paper. I would much rather have much larger figures here. Okay, so let's get those out of here just for now, just so I can focus on the text. Um, okay. Okay, so now for the term paper, you should not use first person tense. You should use basic third person. Um, for numbers that are higher than 10, you should just have the numbers out. So this should be 600,000 and whatever. I guess it was 33. And this should be, yeah, any number larger than 10, you just use the number. If it's so for less than 10, say when you say that there are 4 natural aquifers, that's fine. You wouldn't want to use a number 4 there. But if it's a number greater than 10, then just have the digits. I saw something else here. I like the fact that Ross has included data, even though this is a more qualitative description of the city's climate. Again, so here instead of this number 3, this should be THREE, 3 inches. Let's see. This sentence is redundant, so I would take it out. I mean, you already have that the city of Memphis gets on average 218 days of sun. Don't need that next sentence. That first sentence is pretty explanatory. Instead of saying the air quality in Memphis is good for a city, you should have just some data there. The 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 unit is an air quality index. The air quality index is whatever. Now, the air quality index is a qualitative description. So you could say the AQI, the air quality index for Memphis, is usually good, but you'd have to prove that, has to be proven. There are a lot of facts here that you would want to cite. You should probably use a scientific citation method. You got a lot of facts in here. Like, so for example, if you were to present this paper at a conference and you said Memphis gets on average about 218 days of sun, somebody's going to ask you where you got that figure from. Oh, really? Where'd you get that from? You have to be able to answer that question. So each one of these facts should have a source. Like, where'd you? Memphis average wind speed is around 8.8 miles per hour. How do you know that? Where'd that come from? So you have to cite each of those data points. Also, your layout must be exactly as it is in the syllabus. And so I know this is just a rough draft and so on and so forth. Just thinking ahead, because you will have to submit a second draft for grade. Notice that you can use the exact same subheadings that I use here. So this could just be So by subheadings, you have area, description as your subheading, and you could maybe perhaps bold it just to set it off. And in terms of the paper itself, you should have a title page here with a descriptive title. So title page should come, and you can do that. Most of you all are juniors and seniors. You've written papers before. You know how to do a title page. So that should go without saying. I know this is just a rough draft. Also, if you notice so you have an area description and a climate description. So yeah, so there's the area description. I guess that's what that is. And then this next section, I'm assuming would be climate description. And so, like I said, you can use the exact same section headings that I use, but you have to have them there. I mean, this should not just be one long running paragraph. Okay. So this is a good start. Obviously, includes some maps and graphics. Each map or each graphic should have a figure number and a brief caption. Just so don't, it's a little constructive criticism, that's all, but at least see what else we have here. We had another one in the Dropbox. Just trying to get these term papers off to a good start. So we have roads here. Let's see. Okay, again, right off the bat, for your term paper, again, I don't want you to use first person for a term paper. This has to be in third person tense. Let's see, again, this should be broken up. This should be broken up into section headings, just like I showed with Garrett Ross's paper. And so each section should be clearly marked. And the same thing, where are the sources for this information? And also, so these sources of information should be cited. Again, take it out of first person. Each of these images should have a figure number and a caption. So just make note of that. Also, obviously, there should be more text here than what's there. Let's go to this section. Let's see what we have here. Okay, so please submit your drafts by, well, as soon as possible for the term paper. That way I can give you the constructive criticism that you need. It's so that we have very good papers by the end of the semester. It's only March 23rd right now. There's plenty of time to get this done correctly. So now we're going to segue into developing the third section of your term paper. And so if you notice in the syllabus, that you are required to, in the third section of the paper, you are required to include climagraphs and the methodology. And so I'm going to walk you through that right now with this assignment. And this week's assignment is the assignment 8, U.S. city climagraphs map. And so I'm going to, so you have been provided with the instructions. There are several things that you will do in terms of this assignment. Here are the assignment materials, and I will walk you through them today, and perhaps we'll have to do more on Thursday. Okay, so let's get started. So this is the U.S. city climagraphs and Köppen climate classification assignment. What you will do first is create Köppen climate classifications for your city. And next you will place your climograph on a map. So let's go through the Köppen climate classification first. Now, if you remember, under the course materials, we okay, if you remember early in the semester, we used this interactive Köppen climate classification map. And so these are the various Köppen climate regions found in the United States. And so the question is, how are these Köppen climate regions determined? What is the process? Well, that is the process that we're going to go through right now. So I'm going to use my hometown as an example. So the first thing that you need to do is get the climate data for your city. And so you go to this weather-based site. Go to this weather-based site, for example, and type in the city. I'm going to type in Baltimore. So here's Baltimore, Maryland. Okay, so I get the average temperature data and average precipitation data. So remember, the two main elements of climate are precipitation and temperature. I believe that I have provided for you in the, whoops. Let's see, I'll go to student mode for this just to, so I actually have this these instructions in a video just in case you need them as a reference. So here is the U.S. Cities Climograph working sheet. So I've kind of made things a little easy for you, or easier. And so this is a multi-sheet, multi-city sheet. In this case, you only need to have one city's data. And so you can simply go here. I think if you can type the name of the city here, I don't know, that might end up in the title, I don't know. But everything's laid out for you. So all you have to do is go into this page here, average temperature. I think you can clip that out. Maybe. Let's see if that's possible. Oh, yeah. There, copy, go to the spreadsheet. So that's temperature. And we can just, should be able to just paste it right in. Yep. Now, for the climograph, you don't necessarily have to have um, the annual data. Oh, so I'm sorry. So this part of the graph is just for you to record data. You don't have to have degrees Celsius and Fahrenheit unless you just want to be thorough. But I'm going to paste the data. So notice that when I paste the data into the working spreadsheet, you get a curve for temperature in degrees Fahrenheit. Now you go back to weather base. The second element is precipitation. So you go in here, and like I said, if you're very careful and steady handed, we can just go in here, copy, and then paste precipitation in inches here, and then into the working sheet here. Okay, so notice that I've made things almost too easy for you. As soon as you do that, it pastes the temperature and precipitation data right into the climograph. And you can edit the chart data. Select it here, format for the table. Format chart area, text options, text fill. Oh. Let me pause the recording here for just a moment. Okay, so now I'm going to add a title. Just go right in here. And so there is your climograph for Baltimore, Maryland. Now what you're gonna have to do is save this. So you go here, right click, copy. I would use the Paint program if you have the Microsoft suite. Everybody has it. Paint, paste your climograph in there, crop it off. File, save as JPEG, and then you can call this I'll call it Baltimore climograph. Okay, so it's just that simple. So you've got your climograph, you've got your climograph data. You'll have to get additional data from this table, the annual precipitation is 41.9 inches. You don't need that in the working table. You do need it here, 41.9 inches. Average temperature is 55.1 degrees Fahrenheit. So you do need that in the working table there. One thing that you'll notice is that the average annual temperature is the cumulative amount for each month, not the average. Okay, don't average these together. Take the cumulative. It's the cumulative total of the monthly averages. So if we add the January through December temperatures, we get 41.9. Excuse me. Inches of precipitation, we get 41.9 inches of precipitation. For the temperatures now, those are averaged together, added together and divided by 12 to get 55.1. I just wanted to point that out. So now the next task is to go through the process for determining the Köppen climate classification for, in this case, Baltimore. So we need to go back to the Dropbox, and we have three spreadsheets, and I do have the Köppen climate classification instructions here, but I just want to demonstrate a little bit of this for you. So you have three sheets, and this is pretty simple. Whoops. So you should take a look at all three sheets here. Let me get these downloaded. So even though this sheet is the third sheet, we'll start off with the third sheet, because essentially this is what I want to see for this assignment and in your term paper. And that's specifically the step-by-step process that you went through to determine the Köppen classification for your city. Okay, so this part of the paper is essentially your methodology. If you write a scientific paper, you start off with the background description, and then of course you get into the purpose for why you're doing this work, and then how did you do it. So that's the methodology, and the methodology should be replicable. I should be able to read your instructions and come to the same result or follow the same procedure that you did, okay, without a whole lot of trouble. At least that's what should happen. Okay, so here are the instructions. So the first part of the instructions says get your data. So we have the data. First, we must determine if there is a seasonal concentration of precipitation. So this is when we start to talk about whether a place has a wet season, dry season type climate, or whether there is precipitation all year round, which is what we call permanently rainy. In other words, every month has about the same amount or some amount of precipitation versus having half the year with a lot of precipitation and the other half of the year with very little precipitation. Okay, so we're going to go through the process for Baltimore. First, we must determine if there's a seasonal concentration of precipitation. So for Baltimore, we have, of course, on average 41.9 inches of precipitation. So we can just take not any half of the year. The summer months are April through um, September. So those are the quote unquote summer months when we're talking about climatology. So we can just simply copy. You can use this as a working sheet. We can copy this, paste it here, and then do an auto sum. So that's 22.1. So what we would do is take 22 point, divide into 22.1, 41.9. And just from casual observation, we know that 22.1 is not 70% of 41.9. We don't even have to do the math. We know that we don't have a seasonal concentration of precipitation because there is less than 70% of the annual rainfall happening either in the winter months or summer months. So we know that we have an even distribution of precipitation, just as it's listed here in our example using Madison, Wisconsin. So we have an even distribution of precipitation. What that means is that when we come to this table here, that we will be using the even distribution table here to determine the first letter of our Köppen climate region. And so if you remember, the Köppen climate classification system is an alphabetic system. So so if we enter the graph using our data, so we have 55, might have to enlarge this a little bit. So we have 41 inches of precipitation, or excuse me, which takes us out here somewhere. And our mean annual temperature is about 55 degrees. So our intercept point is out here somewhere. So we would just extend the bounds of this graph out, and it's clear that our first letter for Baltimore, Maryland will be either A, C, D, or E. Okay, so A, C, D, or E. So the question is the first, we know it's not B. We've eliminated that. Do we have a polar climate? Is the warmest month less than 50 degrees Fahrenheit? Well, let's take a look at that. The warmest month less than 50 degrees Fahrenheit? Well, absolutely not. So we know it's not E. Is it B? We've already eliminated that through our table. Is it an A? Do we have a tropical climate in Baltimore? Is the coolest month greater than 64.4 degrees Fahrenheit? Coolest month greater than, no, that's not true. So we do not have an A tropical climate either. So let's see. I think I downloaded, let's see, sheet one here. Let's go to sheet 2. Okay, so here's the second sheet. Let me enlarge that. So now we know that it's not, we know the first letter is not E or A or B. Is the first letter C? That means the coldest month is between 64 degrees Fahrenheit and 32 degrees Fahrenheit. Is that true? So looking for the coldest month. Is the coldest month between 62 degrees Fahrenheit and 32 degrees Fahrenheit? Okay. And is there at least at least 1 month over 50 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's true. So let's see, this is the coldest month between zero. Wow, that's interesting. I would not have expected that. Um, it's just barely for the data set that we have. Um, this was not what I expected. And so let's look again. This is a 30-year record of a 30-year record of data. And I don't know which 30 years, but that's very interesting. If we go back to the, I'm going to pause the recording for just a second. So if we go back to the Köppen climate classification map, you can see that Baltimore, Maryland is right on the boundary between humid continental hot summers, which is it would be a D climate. So if you notice that humid continental hot summer falls under the D climate category, Köppen climate classification. Okay, so you can see that this light blue is DFA, that's the humid continental hot summers with year-round precipitation, permanently rainy. And then, of course, we have this should be humid subtropical CFA climate here. So Baltimore is right on the border. And I've seen Baltimore classified as a D climate and on some cases as a C climate. And so this, what we're seeing here may be indicative of climate change, where we're starting to see some of our climate regions that are warmer creep farther to the north. Perhaps that might be the illustration that we're seeing here. Um, I'm assuming that these data, I can't, that doesn't say which 30 years. It doesn't necessarily have to be most recent years. And that data is not made available exactly what dates. But in any case, we have shown that we have a C climate, or the first letter for Baltimore is C. And so when you report out, it should look exactly like this. Step one, we found that in Baltimore that we had an even distribution of precipitation since Baltimore, Maryland, blah, blah, blah. Step two, we went through this assessment. We conclude that Baltimore has a A, C, D, or E. So step three is where we determine that Baltimore, in this case, has a C climate. So we will go through this iterative process. I just did it verbally. You have to write this out. And so we know that Baltimore has a C climate, excuse me, which I did not expect. Next, we will look at the second letter for our Köppen climate classification. So the second letter is either going to be, second letter either is going to be S, W, or F. So we pretty much know the answer to this, but we have to go through it iteratively. So because you might not know this, is the driest month in the summer half of the year less than 1.2 inches? Is the driest month in the summer half of the year, that's April through September, less than 1.2 inches? No. So we can eliminate uh, the letter S. Dry winter is the driest month in the winter half of the year. Does it have less than 1/10 of the wettest summer month? So first, let's find the wettest summer month, which is July with 4.1 inches of precipitation. Is the driest winter month less than 1/10 of 4.1? Clearly, that's not true. And so that means that the second letter is F, always moist. And then the third letter, is it A? Is the warmest month above 71.6 degrees Fahrenheit? Yes. So Baltimore's climate would be a CFA. And so if we go to the full description, that would be a mesothermal climate, always moist, with the warmest month above 71.6 degrees Fahrenheit. Or if we go to our uh, Köppen climate map, a CFA climate is defined as humid subtropical climate. So you'll find different designations, but you should write it out. So it's CFA, humid subtropical climate. That might be the best way to describe it using this source um, here. So now, if you notice, if you go back to the term paper assignment, um, if you go back to the term paper assignment, you'll notice that you are required to have this information, that is your climate graph with methodology, or your Köppen climate classification with methodology here. And so this assignment will serve a dual purpose. It will obviously you'll complete this assignment, but it will also provide you with content for the term paper. So after we finish with this assignment, you will have content for sections 4 and 5 of your term paper. From that point forward, all you have to do is analyze your results, do your discussion, conclusion, and then that's it. Okay, so after this week, if you do this assignment successfully, then you should pretty much have everything you need to finish the term paper ready to go. Just transfer it from this assignment over to your term paper. And one last thing, you can turn in a draft of your term paper anytime. You don't have to wait for me to grade it, have a graded assignment for you to turn in your term paper. You can turn in your draft of your term paper anytime, a rough draft, to me, email it, let me know. I'll take a look at it. And so that way you'll be able to shape this into a really good product by the end of the semester. So that is the end of our class for today. I'm going to end it here. Thank you very much for your attendance, and we will pick it up from here on Thursday with the climate graph mapping portion.